Planet Dolan. What phone activity has been shown to generate a never-before-seen pattern of brainwaves? What country demands that phones be waterproof so they can be used in the shower? From the past to the present, here are 10 things you likely didn't know about your cell phone. I'm Danger Dolan, and today, I will be your narrator.
Number 10.
In 1969, the Apollo 11 mission landed a man on the moon, but what kind of crazy supercomputers did they have to pull off something like that? Well, the iPhone 5, which is pretty much obsolete technology at this point, has over 1,000 times more power than the combined computing power used in the Apollo 11 mission. In fact, the average smartphone has more computing power today than the entirety of NASA combined in 1969. Although to be fair, the average USB drive has more power than the Apollo 11 mission as well.
Number 9.
While not a smartphone by today's standards, the Motorola Dynatac 8000X was the world's first commercially sold portable cell phone. It was invented in 1983 and was definitely the smartest phone you could get then. It had a small LCD screen on the front that displayed numbers like an old alarm clock. It could store up to 30 contacts, and its battery life would give you a good 30 minutes of talk time before recharging. For that, you would have paid $4,000 in 1984, which adjusted for inflation is about $10,000 today.
Number 8.
Some people believe that texting is bad for your brain. In reality, it may be evolving it. A research team at the Mayo Clinic was studying the effects of texting on the brain, and what they found was a completely new, never-before-seen brainwave pattern. In other words, texting puts your brain through a completely precise set of processes that are unlike anything humans ever do. The combination of precise finger dexterity, the processing of non-verbal information, and visual focus on a small screen is unique to texting, and it shows our brain's ability to quickly adapt to new tasks and stimulus by just creating new processes on the fly.
Number 7.
In 2016, nearly every phone sold in Japan, about 95% of them in fact, were waterproof. Waterproofing is so standard a feature for Japanese smartphones that it's nearly impossible to sell one that isn't. There are many reasons for the phenomenon. Walking and biking are much more common forms of everyday travel in Japan than in other parts of the world, so there is demand for phones that can be used even during rainy seasons. But the original and most popular reason for waterproofing phones, so that people can use them in the shower.
Number 6.
Most of the time when you see a cell phone tower, you recognize it, right? Well, maybe. In the United States, many cell phone towers are actually hidden. They're right there in plain sight. They're not invisible or anything, they're just in disguise. You think that's a church steeple you're looking at? Cell phone tower. The tree is made of plastic. It's also a cell phone tower. Same with cactuses, bell towers, flagpoles, and giant church crosses. There's an entire industry devoted to licensing property to double as cell towers, some of which will even build artificial trees and plants so that the tower blends into the community.
Number 5.
In 2011, the Sonum XP3300 Force set out to become the toughest phone in the world. They didn't just claim it in their commercials, they called Guinness World Records to confirm it. Guinness tests cell phone durability with a drop test. A phone with no case gets dropped from a certain distance onto a concrete surface, and it must sustain absolutely no operational damage. That means no cracked screen, no damaged buttons, nothing. The previous world record, set in 2008, was a 10.6 foot drop with no damage, but the XP3300, they dropped it from 84 feet onto concrete, and it was completely fine.
Number 4.
Businesses have been saying for years that there's money in the smartphone market, just like in the banana stand, and they're right. But there's money in your smartphone in ways you likely didn't think. See, gold doesn't have a ton of use to people as shiny jewelry, but it's incredibly useful in electronics. That's why about hundreds of tons of gold are used in electronics every year. Your smartphone contains reasonably large amounts of precious metals of gold, silver, palladium, and even some platinum. In fact, melting down and removing the gold from 1 ton of iPhones could produce 300 times more gold than 1 ton of gold ore. That means the phone you're holding in your hand has 300 times more gold in it than a chunk of gold ore the same weight. In 2015 alone, Apple recovered $40 million worth of gold from recycled iPhones.
Number 3.
Scientists at the UK's Bristol Robotics Lab have discovered something that you'll likely never ever use, but it's potentially groundbreaking discovery. It's the ability to charge your phone with your urine. It works by breaking down the microbes in urine and harnessing the bioelectricity to create an electric charge. You might not ever need to charge your phone with urine, but it could be an incredibly important invention for generating renewable energy in places like developing countries and refugee camps.
Number 2.
Cell phones through most of the 1980s used nickel-cadmium batteries. These batteries suffered from the memory effect, where batteries that are not fully charged routinely will eventually remember the partial charge state and become unable to charge past that state. But more importantly, they contain cadmium, a highly toxic heavy metal. The material is so dangerous, the European Union banned the sale of nickel-cadmium batteries entirely in 2016. It required specific disposal procedures for the ones in circulation. Most phones now operate with lithium-ion batteries, which aren't as environmentally damaging and do not suffer the memory effect.
Number 1.
A cracked phone screen sucks, and lots of times it seems to make more sense to keep using the phone with the cracked screen rather than shell out the money to fix it. According to a Motorola survey, 50% of smartphone users worldwide have cracked a screen at some point, and that's not surprising. What's surprising is that 23% of those have cut their finger on the broken glass of their screen and then continue using it anyway. So here's a quick life hack. If you want to continue using your phone, cracked screen and all, but you don't want to embed shards of glass in your finger, put a layer or two of packing tape on the screen. That will also keep the glass from getting everywhere. It's a short-term fix, you still need to get your screen fixed, but you should be able to use the phone normally for at least a few days until you get it fixed. What? Danger Don, did you know that we have a countdown book featuring some of our best scripts on sale now? Links down below for the physical and ebook versions. That is it for this countdown. Have a good one!